Hi, I'm Jamie Williamson, and this is my cousin, Zach Williamson, and we are going to be talking about sea turtles today. Okay, Zach, what is your definition of a sea turtle?
Well, it's basically a turtle, but it has, instead of, legs, it's got elongated flip-for-life paddle appendages instead.
Okay, that was very good. What do you think the most interesting aspect of a sea turtle is?
I particularly like the loggerhead sea turtles. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, so there are a great deal of them in our area.
Cool.
So, I really like the way, they have very strong jaws. They can go and, they can eat a crab whole, which is impressive considering how hard the shell can be sometimes.
That is impressive, yes.
Yeah. And, they're pretty fast. I'm sure they're pretty fast too. That's about it. That's kind of cool.
No, that is cool. Okay, so explain what you probably already have a little bit, but explain what you know and have learned previously about sea turtles. Like, have you ever taken a marine science class or in any of your science classes before? Have you learned about sea turtles?
Not specifically about sea turtles, but I guess I've read a couple books, I suppose, and so, they start out actually on the beaches of Charleston. They actually live right around there, and they come back once a year, and they find their way back from wherever they are in the world back to that one particular beach where they were born. Yeah. They lay their eggs, and then the baby sea turtles, they hatch, and not many of them actually make it back to the ocean. Most of them get eaten on the way down the beach, and once they get into the water, very few of them actually make it, but when they get there, then, they still have to survive longer than that, because oftentimes they'll get eaten in the water too. Their shells are really soft when they're very little, when they're first born, and then they grow, and as they grow, they get harder, and then they're, like little tanks in the ocean.
No, that's all really true, and I think that's a lot more than what most people know about sea turtles. Okay. If you had to guess, how many different kinds of species of sea turtles do you think there are in existence?
I don't know. I figure there are a lot of types of sea turtles. I mean, do you know?
I do. I do. Do you think it's a big number, small number?
Big number, I'm sure.
Well, the amount of species there are is 7, but there's a whole lot more under those. Well, out of these, which do you think is the most popular / largest? You mentioned one of them already, the loggerhead.
Other species.
There's one that's really similar to it.
I don't know a lot of other species of sea turtles.
Okay. Let's see. It's the leatherback turtle, and it's really big and overpowering, and the loggerhead is probably right underneath it. Okay, this question might be a little bit harder to answer since you don't know the 7 different species, but what do you think is the most endangered?
Of the 7? Well, I mean, at this point, I only know 2 of them.
Yes,
so
yes.
I'd venture to say, I'm pretty sure the loggerhead is pretty endangered.
That one is pretty endangered, but it's the Kemp's Ridley. And it's the one that's most close to extinct. And actually, the loggerhead and leatherback are the most popular ones, and they're the strongest and more dangerous. Not dangerous, but probably strongest, I would say. Okay, since like you mentioned earlier, you have the advantage of living so close to the ocean and marshes. Since you live in Charleston, have you had one-on-one interactions with turtles before?
Well, one time we have the aquarium right nearby where I live. It's actually in downtown Charleston, but they take in sea turtles and they nurse them when they're sick and such. So I've actually been to one of the releasings of the turtles after they nurse them back to health.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they brought them in like a pickup truck, and the people that worked at the volunteers or employees or whatever, they put them on the beach, and then we got to watch them all. They crawl down the beach back to the ocean, and then they swim away. It was pretty neat.
What was that experience like? Did you think it would be that cool to see little baby sea turtles or?
I think they were full grown sea turtles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. So had they just like nursed them back to health and then
You know,
they were
things that
releasing
get
them?
caught like in a fishing net or something. And
Yeah.
they get like cut up or damaged, and so they take the aquarium will take them and nurse them back to health and then let them go.
Did they say how long they like stay at the aquarium? Like how long it takes to nurse them back, or
Nah, actually.
not really? No, okay. Well, that's cool. From this experience, do you think that sea turtles are endangered of becoming extinct?
I know that I'm pretty sure that they're endangered. I know that they have
They
a lot of
are,
issues
yes.
these days because with so many people living on the beaches,
Yeah.
the baby sea turtles oftentimes will get confused about which way is the ocean because of the lights of the houses
Yeah, a
on
lot
the
of
beaches.
artificial lights.
Yeah, so they get confused on which way is the actual way to the ocean, and they go the wrong way, and then they get eaten and whatever. So
Yeah, that's a big problem that they're trying to stop with the artificial lights and people using their cell phones at night. Instead of tell them like to use like red lights to because they won't like come towards that and stray away. But it's still a big problem that they're trying to start. And yes, they're becoming extinct.
and they also eat a lot of the litter and the trash that
Yeah.
gets around the ocean.
All the
Choke on that
pollution.
and
Yeah. Like plastic bags, stuff that people leave on like from the beach. Okay. What is your biggest threat to a sea turtle in your opinion?
Probably the lights on the beach because the babies can't get to the ocean, and you can't repopulate. So I'd say that's not to mention people. A lot of people leave the lights on. It's kind of careless about it because they either don't realize or maybe just don't care.
Yeah.
So,
Or they're just of their own interest, they want to see them, but they don't realize that it's like hurting the actual turtles in the process. Do you think predatory threats are a big threat more than like artificial ones to sea turtles?
I mean, you always have the natural threats, and I mean they survived long before we ever showed up from their predatory threats. So I'm sure that those aren't worse than they were before.
Yeah, I mean, well, there are some big ones: ghost crabs, raccoons, ants, birds, fish, sharks,
Yeah,
and
but
even
those-
us, like you said, to
Those have always been around, and they've endured
Yeah.
despite those. So I think that the new problems, and mostly involving us, are the issues that they struggle from now.
No, yeah, I agree, definitely. Okay, we kind of touched on this a little bit before, but have you ever personally witnessed sea turtles hatching? If so, what was this experience like?
I've never seen them hatching. I think you'd have to go to the beach in like the middle of the night. You'd have to know exactly where you were going,
Yeah.
and you can get a lot of trouble for messing with the nests
That's
as well.
very true.
And we've been to Kiowa Island a few times in the beach there, and there are like you can see the nesting sites. They got them roped off. You're not allowed to go near them or like mess with them, and there's fines for doing so. So
Yeah,
I've never actually seen them hatch though. It would be very cool to do.
I'm sure it's an incredible experience, but yeah, they definitely take a lot of precaution towards it now just because of everything that has been happening and how extinct they are becoming. Okay, did this make you more aware of how delicate a sea turtle life can be? Like, even just how much you know about them now?
I mean, I already knew, like when they're little, they're very, very delicate.
Yeah.
But when they get older, they're pretty tough. So, I mean,
Yeah,
they still,
that is very true.
which I guess goes to show how bad the issues we're causing are. That they could be so tough and yet becoming endangered.
That's what I was going to say. It is even shocking, though, still, how, like, even a little piece of plastic or, like, a light can, like, take either the smallest or the biggest turtle and, like, that you think you wouldn't be able to have that big an effect, but it can kill them. Okay. Following along the same line of becoming extinct, do you believe that marine pollution is a serious problem around certain areas of the ocean?
Yeah, I do. I do think that there's a lot of things that get into the waterways that definitely shouldn't be there. Plastics and things. I've heard the AP environmental science teacher at my school talking about it. The plastics and things that they never really go away. They break down in smaller and smaller pieces, but they're always there. And they actually go to the beach and like do tests on the sand and things, and they do find a lot of that kind of polluting plastic and things. And we have people who will go do beach sweeps and such, but it's not really enough because so many people visit our city and they leave trash on the beach and stuff. So it's around. a lot of it is, and I do think that it's a issue.
Yeah, a growing
Especially-
problem. People are just careless.
Ghost nets and things that get in the water, which would be like a net like a fishing net that got
Yeah.
lost in the ship,
Yeah.
and fishing lines, all that kind of traps, things like that the turtles will run into that cause serious damage.
No, yeah, that's definitely true. We even learned about that in our class. The different strategies that people use for fishing, like just fishermen, and then it turns into ways that turtles swallow it and then they can die and they can't get it out of their system.
They catch a lot of things that they don't mean to.
Yeah, that they shouldn't be.
Dolphins, turtles, things like that. They injure a lot of animals they never mean to. Commercial fishermen do.
Yeah, very true. Okay. Next question. Do you think that living where you are, closer to the ocean, has made you more aware of sea turtles and their endangerment versus people who live maybe in different parts of the country that aren't as exposed to that environment?
I would say that being next to the beach, when you're in elementary school, they have all those little activities for the little elementary schools. A lot of times we talk about turtles and things because it's where we live, and
Yeah.
turtles are cool. Little kids like turtles. So, but if you're living in like Kansas, you might not even know that there are sea turtles, or really care for that matter. You don't really go to the beach. So I'd say that living in Charleston, you do hear a lot more about the turtles than somewhere else.
Okay, so next question. Do you think that living where you are, closer to the ocean, in Charleston, has made you more aware of sea turtles and their endangerment versus people who live in different parts of the country and aren't as exposed to this environment?
Yeah, I'd say that the people who don't live on the beach probably don't know as much about sea turtles. They probably don't realize, just the marine life in general. They probably don't realize that when they come and visit, say they just go fishing or they go to the beach and maybe they have like a picnic and don't quite clean it all up, they may not realize that it's actually a bigger deal than just leaving a piece of trash on the beach. It can become a threat to something later.
Yeah, so do you definitely think that people are more prone to being more careless if they live like not on the coast or in a different part of the country than people who do live, like, for example, in Charleston? Do you think they're just more careless to leaving like a plastic water bottle or plastic bag, or like fishing where they're not supposed to, because they don't live around it every day?
I'd say yes, just because they don't know. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, no, very true. Okay, what personally do you think you could do to keep sea turtles from becoming extinct?
Well, one of the most important things is, of course, the lights on the beach. Making sure that the turtles know which way is the way to the ocean is very important. But, you can also, I guess, beach sweeps from time to time are very good to keep the beach clean so that the turtles can get up the beach to lay the eggs, and then later on the turtles can hatch and get back down the beach to the ocean. Because, if there's things in the way, it makes it harder and more time, gives the predators more time to catch them, things like that.
Yeah, no, that's all really good, and just some things that we learned about in the class that you can do. Like you said, you can turn off your beach lights. Like, a lot of people go down at night and they want to see the turtles, or they want to see other marine animals, and or even just like porch lights if you live like right on the beach, like just being more aware of that. Or you can get like the red lights I was telling you about earlier if you are really like interested and want to see them but want to also be aware of their safety. You can also stay off the dunes. Don't ever have plastic. I know that's a hard thing that a lot of people like think about, but just have your own water bottle that you take around everywhere, and don't just have a plastic one that you throw around. Also, don't disturb the nesting efforts. I'm sure you guys have a lot of those, like living in Charleston, around your beaches, around your well-known beaches that you guys live around, but just don't disturb those. And you can volunteer. That's a big thing. I think a lot of people like don't think about volunteering for that if they're not really interested, but you can do it, especially where you live. So, do you believe that you can actually make a difference and change in helping sea turtles to become less endangered?
Like me, specifically?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose if I go pick up a few plastic bags, maybe I may help a turtle that would have eaten it. You don't really know. So
you can make a difference and you can save turtles' lives. Okay, well, thanks for letting me interview you, and I hope
no
you have
problem.
a good rest of your night.